जब दिल ही टूट गया तो डी के क्या करेंगे जी के क्या करेंगे बताइए बड़े भाई प्लीज टेल अस बड़े भाई डी के क्या करेंगे जी के क्या करेंगे
मेरा मेरा गाना तुम कब से गाने लगे?
Sir,
मेरा मजाक उड़ाते थे. You used to make fun of the songs I sang, and see, eventually you had to come down to the songs that I was singing.
Sir, because this song is about me, sir. It says, na, GK kya karenge? So it's what will GK do? What will all Indian cricket fans do? Series lost 2-0. Test series lost 2-0. This has not been a good start to the year. This is not a happy time for the Indian cricket team. It's not a happy time for Indian cricket fans. South Africa winning and winning comprehensively. So it's not just the loss, it's also the way the loss has happened. It's been pretty comprehensive, and that's what we're going to talk about. And well, I don't think we can sugarcoat it at all. It really was pretty much one-way traffic today. India looked off color. And well, that's the truth of it. This is Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. With me, Dinesh Karthik and Harsha Bhogle. DK, there's just no way to sugarcoat this. This was really lackluster cricket today.
Oh, definitely. I think a complete dominating performance by South Africa. You could see from the dressing room how much it meant to them post their win. There is no way that India have anywhere to hide now. I think, obviously they wouldn't be happy with their own performances. I think they did a pretty good job with the bat, and they scored, pretty much what was par, if not more. And to get comprehensively beaten, I must admit, a bit taste of their own medicine, because when most teams come to India, this is how they chase down totals. And to be given that same treatment when you go abroad, I think obviously it'll be a bitter pill to swallow. And just the quality of batting, the partnerships that they were able to stitch together, the inefficiency of the bowling, not able to pick up wickets again. And it was very evident. Obviously, they have more informed batters who are batting rather confidently, and they seem to have a pretty well-rounded batting unit at this point of time in the top five. And credit to them for the way they played and the way they ran between wickets and the kind of boundary options they took, safe at all times, but making sure they played to a certain template. And we spoke in the mid-show about how important it is to take on the new ball, and that's exactly what Quinton and Malan did, and they did a really good job at that.
35th and 36th over, Harsha. Those were the two wickets that fell. Bavuma and Malan back-to-back at that point in time. Besides that little 8-10 over, 8-10 ball spell where India could have kind of felt a little optimistic, you'd have to say the rest of the 47 overs pretty much were just all South Africa.
I thought there was only one phase when India looked like they would do something with this game, and that was overs 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. That was Bumrah, Ashwin. I think in 20 balls, they scored 7 runs in the power play. That was the time when it looked like South Africa might do something. There were 10 dot balls. Quinton de Kock misses stumping. Look, you can't you can't clutch at straws and say, look, if that stumping had happened, the game would have been different. You don't know where it would have gone. Right? Everyone does that. I just found it interesting that a team of obviously gifted players coming into their own just won just like that. They just had a walk in the park. So I actually messaged Pommy. I said, look, I'm watching what the cameras are showing. I'm only seeing that much. But are you watching there? Are you noticing this lack of intensity in the field? And he said, that's really what we've been talking about here. So it could be. I think, we end up sometimes looking at things very much from an Indian point of view because we cater to a largely Indian audience. And we forget how well South Africa batted in both games. And I think they've just batted. It's easy to say they've out-bowled India, whatever. I think they've actually out-batted India. They've made the bowling look worse. India have major problems in bowling. I mean, if I was a kid, I would have said, just give Bumrah 25 overs and that's it. Right? But I think they've batted really well. Look at the role Quinton de Kock played. He shepherded Janeman Malan. Wasn't looking very great to start off, then came good. And the ease with which Markram and Rassi finished it. I don't know, sometimes we only see a little part of the picture, but there must be something about Bavuma. We'll talk about that when the time
I'll go one step further.
Bavuma. Yeah.
I'll go one step further and say I think they've outbatted India this whole series, because even in South Africa, in Johannesburg Test match, they were chasing a well above par score for that kind of wicket, for the amount of seam movement it had. Dean Elgar played a brilliant innings. Again, you come down to Cape Town, it was a decider, and the way they batted in the 4th innings, it shows that they have a certain amount of grit, a certain amount of resilience in their batting, which has come through in the ODI series as well. Obviously, just like India, I feel they're a batter short, a bowler short with their 11 because they're playing 6 and 5. Feklukwai are batting at 7, and then you don't have much to follow up after that. So their batting isn't long per se, but just the way the top order has been able to stitch partnerships is fabulous.
100-run partnership today with De Kock and Malan. It was 132 runs is what they put on, and they did that in 21 overs. So Harsha, was not just, the fact that it was, 40, 35%, 40% of the score. It's also the speed at which they did it, and the fact that it just looked really easy at the time.
If you ask Quinton de Kock which team you want to play against, if you've got one game left, he'll say India. And I'm not only saying because of what he did today. He's got 3 ODI hundreds, I think, once in a row against India. I just think that their game plan would have been, if we see off Bumrah, there isn't much. And I mean, over the years, I've been a huge admirer of Bhuvi. I just love the spirit with which he has played. I love the most he's made of his ability. But I think the pace has gone a little bit. When Bhuvi was bowling at his best, he was moving the ball about 135. When he was at his peak, he started off about late 120s, got his pace up to mid 130s. There was a phase when he was moving the ball mid 130s, and I don't know if the extra pace, the ball stopped moving a little bit. But he wasn't, I mean, the fact that he was taken off after 1 over and brought back only when you had more fielders out tells a story of what the captain thought of him. I feel disappointed. You shouldn't come up and say hard things about people you admire, but I think Bhuvneshwar is not looking at his best. That's as far as I'll go.
Yeah, is that the change that you expect, Dinesh, then in the next game? Brutal reality, right?
Yeah, I do think so. Last game as well, I spoke about the fact that you need to induce pace in it. You could see what's the difference with Bumrah is the fact that he has pace. So his slower ones become that much more effective. You don't need so much help from the wicket. But when your pace is obviously early 130s, then what happens is the slow one isn't as effective as it should be. Then you're dependent on the knuckle ball and the slow one a lot more. Whereas with the Bumrah, he's able to mix his pace. Well, even if you see Bumrah, his average pace is 135 because of the amount of slow balls he's bowled. But the slow ones are effective because he has a fast ball to follow it up with. And that's what creates a doubt in the batter. And that was what is missing. And that's something obviously the Indian team will look at.
There's and DK, I have to ask you the question, and this time I'm not going to ask you to give points or marks out of 10, but Rishabh Pant today, obviously a great game with bat in hand, but rate his game today with gloves in hand behind the wickets.
To be fair, I think that stumping should have been taken. As a keeper, you generally tend to take those. It's something that is pretty straightforward. And
De Kock was what was De Kock at that
32
time?
at that stage.
Yeah, 32.
So,
of course, went on to at 78.
That is something that he could have taken, but he kept wickets well after that. He stood up to Shardul Thakur, Bhuvi, Venkatesh Iyer. He did a very fair job, and that one stumping shouldn't dictate how well his day has been so far as a batter and a keeper. But he does know that, obviously his keeping is obviously always going to be under scrutiny, but he's done well for himself over a period of time. But that's a stumping you would like to do.
Well, it is, Harsha, it's difficult, right? Because you look at it as an India cricket fan and you go, listen, this team went to South Africa thinking that will completely dominate the test series, won the first test match as well. And then after that, it's just been kind of downhill. Talking about Rahul, the captain, and we have to speak about him now. He's played his first series. Of course, Rohit not being there. How much has India, first, let's start with that. How much has India missed Rohit in these 2 white ball games?
If you don't miss Rohit, he's not a great player. So you obviously will miss Rohit. Whenever he's not playing, you'll miss him because that's the kind of player he is. How much will you miss him as a captain? We don't yet know. He's not captained India enough to know. He's captained Mumbai really well. He's captained India in Asia Cups, whatever, and he's done really well. So maybe you would, yes. Also, there's a stature that comes with it. There's a certain experience and weight that comes with it. So yeah, definitely you miss Rohit Sharma. But this was a very good opportunity to check KL Rahul as captain. And in a match that you believe player to player, skill to skill, that you had the advantage. If you don't win, yes, questions will be asked. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm a little wary of drawing captaincy conclusions based on what I see on a TV. Because when you're at the ground, you see the overall picture. You see field placements, you see what movements he is making. But the fact is, India looked flat. And to some extent, the captain's got to take some blame. I'm not comparing him to Bavuma, but I'm looking at Bavuma getting so much out of Maharaj. He's got 10 excellent overs out of Maharaj. He got 8 out of Markram. used Peklukwayo very well. I think they found a little gem in Bavuma. With Rahul, I think it'll be wait and see. But yeah, in India didn't have the same intensity, if that's what you can hold against a leader. I think you're on mute.
Also wanted to talk about Bavuma and his captaincy. He's such a young captain. By young captain, I mean in terms of at least the white ball format. Right? This is his 15th game or 16th game. And DK, Harsha's been very impressed with his captaincy, the way he's marshaled his troops, the way he's optimized his resources. What's been your read on Bavuma, the white ball captain?
I think he's been fabulous. I think, obviously in the World Cup, we saw a very sensitive issue being handled by him very well off the field as well. And you generally, as a leader, those are the things that you look up to. And, I think the team gets a lot of confidence from those kind of incidents. And I think on the field, obviously, he's a good tactician. Some of the fields that they set, like the field that they set for Virat Kohli last game when he was batting, very leg side dominated, very straighter fields. I like that about him. So tactically, he's good. He's astute. And obviously, he's going to get better on the job. A lot of the times I see Quinton de Kock obviously a little upset about certain field placements, certain angles, but those things happen. But overall, obviously, he's led the team well. He's led consistently. I think it's a tad bit unfair to obviously judge KL Rahul right now, because only when you give a string of games, that's when you can exactly judge how good or bad he is. You can probably judge him for what he's done with Kings 11, but with the Indian team, just stopgap captain just for 2 games, it's a difficult one for me to definitely judge KL Rahul. But Temba Bavuma has obviously looked very good as a captain. I think he's somebody who South Africa found a gem in as a captain.
And I think, Harsha, India has today seen Malan, and of course there's been big talk about him early in his career, big talk about him. I think Indian fans have seen him today and they figured out what the fuss was all about.
No, he's a good player. He's a good player. Look, never ever underestimate hunger. South Africa will look at this, say, what's in it for us if we beat India? Wow, man. And there's a lot of hunger. Rasifanta Dusan, hunger. Aiden Markram, he's not had a great series. He wants to show that he can bat well in the middle order. Fielded brilliantly, except for that. I mean, he dropped a catch, that happens, but he fielded brilliantly. I am a great believer in hunger. And I think Bavuma, the hunger, let me show people that I can be. I mean, you always get in the political situation, but for a black man, all his life being told that he's an ordinary batsman, he's got so much hunger to prove to people. I'm not saying every time everyone in India tends to compare. The moment you say good about someone, they say, oh, that means maybe he's saying something against other people. If we can rise above that and say, look, I think South Africa showed a lot of hunger. And DK talked very rightly about the batting, but you look at their bowling lineup. Is that bowling lineup? Are you going to look at that bowling lineup and say, oh my God, how are you going to score runs against these? No, but he still managed to squeeze things out of that bowling lineup too. I think that bowling lineup's overperformed, in all honesty. But I mean, they've won 2 games, so they've obviously done well.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, DK, be cognizant of the fact that there's no Rabada and no Nokia in this bowling lineup.
That was going to be my next point, actually. The fact that they have 2 gun bowlers sitting in their homes and watching games, and they're ready to play for South Africa. That's ominous signs for South Africa. I think that at the end of the day, bowling definitely differentiates how well you do in a game, especially in white ball cricket, as even in red ball cricket, but more so in white ball cricket, you need skills. You can see if you have extra pace, it makes a massive difference. And both Nokia has come about leaps and bounds in the last 1 year, and I think playing 2 IPLs for Delhi has tremendously improved him as a bowler. And Rabada for a period of time, he's been phenomenal. I think he just dropped form a little bit during this IPL, but then again he's picked up. I think the conversations he's had with Dean Elgar, and I think he's picked himself up and shown why he's the leader of the pack, and he's arguably one of the better bowlers going around in world cricket in all 3 formats. And to have those 2 bowlers waiting in the wings, and then add that to a Nigidi and the rest of them that they've got. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of Magala. I've not been very impressed with what I've seen, but that's just very small sample size. What I like about him is the fact that he's able to come back consistently, which is a good attribute to have as a bowler. But then a lot of the times when you're given the new ball, you need to set the tone. I mean, that's one thing that he'll be looking back and saying, what, I could have done this better. But overall, I do think South Africa out-bowled India. I think there is no doubt about that. And they have limited resources as well. If you take man-to-man, if you ask who's better, Keshav Maharaj or Ravichandran Ashwin, I think we know what the answer is. If you take a Shamsi and a Chahal, if you ask who's been the better bowler over a period of time, I think we all know what the answer is. But they have found a way to dig deep, and Harsha is the right word. I think they've been in many ways a very hungry team to perform, and they've shown how badly they wanted this.
Yeah, look, we all delve into our own experience. I've known what it is to be the underdog, and therefore having that hunger to want to show how good we are. And on days when you possess that hunger, you're a different person than on days when you say, yeah, you know what, I've got a track record, man, I'm okay. I mean, even in every level, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a general, whether you're a broadcaster, we all know what it is on days when we've said, no, I want to show, versus on days when we are coasting. So I think it's fair to say that about South Africa. I think with Rabada, just one point before you go, because I came from the test matches, I think Dean Elgar, who's a bit of a battler, in the trenches, come fight with me kind of person. I think he spoke some home truths to Rabada after the first test match. Let's just say politely, he reminded Rabada what he's capable of and who he should be. And you saw the result afterwards.
Yeah, in fact, I feel this is the best thing that could happen to Indian ODI cricket. The fact that it's happening 15, 16 months before a World Cup, it will definitely give them perspective. It will help them set a template. It will help them understand what they need moving forward. What are the kind of players they need? What are the kind of skill sets they need? So that is what the series will do. As I said before, if this is something that we spoke about. I know as we've already spoken that India is not something that as a cricketing nation we don't accept losses that easily. But sometimes this could be for the betterment of the format, so to say, for India, because I think they're at a stage where they have completely dominated one-day cricket over a period of time, but faltered at the big event. So this could be a wake-up call in many ways, because it's great that Rahul Dravid will look at this and go, wow, okay, these are the things I need, and these are the things that I'm going to, fill the gaps with, and that's the kind of players he'll be looking at. Now, what those changes will be, time will tell us, but I think it's a very good thing to happen for Indian cricket, especially the ODI format.
I like this little silver lining to this dark cloud you're giving us, the one step back before you take the two steps forward. And I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you who are the people you think should be there, but just in terms of the bowling, right? I mean, I've been reading a lot on social media today saying the bowling needs a rethink. This is not the correct template for bowling in an ODI. So DK, if you could just throw light on that, perhaps a different mix you'd like to see, or a different, attitude. What do people mean by that? What does that mean? A different template, or a different approach, or a different mix to the bowlers?
Look, I think we're missing two key cricketers here, and both are all-rounders, and all-rounders are worth their weight in gold. Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja. Once they come in, the whole dynamic of this team will look very different. At number 6 when he's there, and at number 7 at Jadeja, they're going to look very, very different. Yes, Hardik Pandya is my friend, but I still think he's a fabulous cricketer. I can see Harsha laughing there, but
really, I laugh. I smile for a reason. I smiled for a reason, DK. I hope he's not changed his number, but I just messaged him during play today saying, how's that back coming along, mate? Can you do 5-6 overs every ODI?
No, but I mean, look, when those two come in, it's going to look completely different. And if you ask who's the best wrist spinner in India right now, I would definitely put my hand up and say Chahal is the best. And I think he will be the bowler for the World Cup as well. There is nobody who's as good as him, even close to him, I feel. So, so we have our spin attack pretty much sorted there between Ravindra Jadeja and obviously R. Ashwin, and then you throw in a Washington Sundar there. We have some options there. Which way we are going to go? Obviously, Jadeja is a surety, but we can obviously have third spinner. It'll be between an Ashwin or a Washington Sundar in time. And these are the two names that I can immediately think of. Obviously, among the left-arm spinners is Akshar and Krunal, but these are the right off spinners that I can think about. But the fast bowling department is where they'll be looking at in a very keen manner. What's the kind of speeds that they want to have bowlers, bowling through the middle overs? What's the kind of attack? Like today, I know that Bhuvi obviously enjoys bowling with the new ball, and as a captain, I'd be, in many ways giving it to him. But bowling and Ashwin, there would have been a great matchup for a Quinton de Kock. That's something they could have just thought, because if they know that Quinton de Kock is going to be the aggressor, I'm sure that's why he was brought on that early. But, playing the first over of Ashwin, whereas, you go when the score is 3 overs 20, it's a different ball game altogether. It's a mindset of a batsman. It changes. A Quinton de Kock starting on 0 is very different to what he is after hitting 2 boundaries. It's just as a batsman, the adrenaline flows, the confidence gets going, so you tend to trust the wicket. It's a small shift in mindset, but it really helps in you scoring runs. So these are the kind of small things. So for me, I think obviously they'll have a look at the fast bowling attack and figure out. I think Shardul Thakur has done really well for himself. I don't think he's done any harm. I think obviously we will get an opportunity to see one of the medium pacers, Prasidh or Siraj, playing the next game. I do think there'll be a change in the 11, and we will be seeing one of those two play.
Yeah, I mean, go back to what DK said at the start, that if you can have a Hardik Pandya giving you 5 overs, 4 to 5 overs every game, then you have Hardik, Jadeja, Shardul at 6, 7, 8. And you say, okay, some days one of you will give you 10. Good day, Jadeja gives you 10.
Yeah.
Shardul's bowling well, he gives you 7, 8 overs one day. But guys, between the three of you, give us 20. But at 6, 7, 8, you're batting really deep there. 6, 7, 8. And then 9, 10, 11, we'll pick Chahal and Bumrah plus 1 quick bowler. Who that quick bowler is, I don't know, but that quick bowler is not a 128, 130 gentle bowler.
Yeah, you got to go 140 plus. Yeah, and that looks like a good side. I mean, because you'd be happy because Shardul, Jadeja, Hardik, all three of them are capable 10-ball bowlers. I mean, Hardik, of course, depending on fitness and injury and how his back is coming to be. But you're very happy and very safe and very satisfied if you're saying, you three, give me 20 in total. That gives the captain a lot of options.
My suspicion also is because there are so many options at the top of the order, I'd love to see what Team India picks for the West Indies games. Something inside me tells me they might just say KL Rahul number 4 is our long-term solution, even though both DK and me like him as an opener. My gut feel is they will say we've got lots of opening options. We can open with Rohit and Shikhar or Ruturaj, but we need a number 4. Let's go with Rahul, and that's just something there. I don't know if that will happen, but it's just billowing in the air.
And then but also, GK, I just feel in the vein that, I think Venkatesh Iyer should be given a few more games. I think it's very unfair. He's just bowled in the one game. He's batted. He's looked good. He was applying himself. He was batting. He got out pretty unluckily, I would say. He had applied himself, taken team to a stage where obviously he could push on further. He got out today rather unluckily. But you can see he has the mindset to do what a middle order batsman requires. So he'd be a very good prospect to invest in, considering there's nobody else at this point of time as we sit here and speak who can say that they have both skills covered. So that's one area that, and you get somebody who's bowling sharp, and then you have a Shardul Thakur. Venkatesh Iyer could definitely be that 6th bowler who could give you 3-4 overs. Even today he bowled 5 overs for 28 years.
Yep.
But you could see that he has the potential. He has he thinks like a batsman. So obviously when you do that as a bowler, it helps. So, he has that added advantage. So I think definitely they should invest in him, considering obviously Hardik not being there, and they look at him as a 2-skill cricketer. They should invest in him and giving the opportunity, because I thought he was batting well. He had applied himself and he used his brains till the time he batted, which is very important for a middle order batter.
He's definitely got one more game coming, so he's at least got that one game for sure to prove himself, and then we'll see after that. Because the next few games are all in India.
I don't know if you can say anything's going to be for sure in this last game. Hey, but Harsha, just one question though. You said seeing Rahul at number 4, which means you push Rishabh to 5, and that means Shreyas doesn't make the team, right? That's what, coming in place of Shreyas.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thought that I suspect will be bandied around.
Yeah.
I still think that if you think that KL Rahul is your gun opening batsman, as DK thinks, as I've thought for a while, then I think we should say no. KL Rahul opens. I just somehow, I don't know KL Rahul very well. I somehow get the feeling that there is this beautiful incandescent stroke player inside, but you've just every innings got to peel that stroke player off. It's almost like there's a shell. Can you take out the shell? There's a lovely pista. Can you take out the shell so you can enjoy the pista? So I don't know. I don't know him well enough to wonder why, but I just think he's the kind of player you go boom, boom. People are saying, oops, where do I bowl to this batsman?
Sir, you know what the problem is? The problem is, I can explain to you in Hindi, क्योंकि इंडिया में क्रिकेट का कैप्टन हमेशा पिसता है. Mic drop. See you, ladies and gentlemen. You're a great audience. But I think you're being, Harsha, on a serious note, I think you're being very unfair to Shreyas Iyer, because you've been complaining that the top 6 don't bowl. He bowled today. Come on. It's a ball, but he bowled. Come on. Factually, the statement is correct. But anyway, listen. Of course, we're talking long-term, but right now, let's not talk long-term. Let's just talk about the third game. The series is gone. Is this a good opportunity to experiment?
Can I make just one comment before we go? Just one thing. You talked about Shreyas Iyer bowling. I've always maintained when you go back to play first-class cricket, you must bat 2 numbers higher where you bat for India. And if you're a Shreyas Iyer, you must bowl every time you go back and play for Mumbai.
Yeah.
Every time you play for Mumbai, you must say, I will bowl 4 or 5 overs. I must, because you must always have a second language.
Yep.
You must always have a second string to your bow. Always contribute to the team in 3 ways if you can. 2 is mandatory now. Either you're a keeper and batsman or you're a gun fielder and batsman. 2 is mandatory these days. If you can have a 3rd string to your bow, you make yourself invaluable.
Yep. Absolutely, and we've come.
It's easier said than done, Harsha. The problem is when you go back and play domestic cricket.
I agree, but I would try.
You play 11 and there's the rest of this. The thing is, it's very hard. I mean, if your state is doing well and, there are games where you can roll your arm over, it's great. But more often than not, if your state is not doing well in certain tournaments and there's a certain set of bowlers, and, if you have given that luxury of just bowling a couple of overs because you're an international cricketer, then that just looks bad on that on that game at that point of time for that state, especially him coming from a very big state. So it's easy for us to discuss here, but I've seen situations where when players have done that, they've looked really selfish, and it's not come out well. I think it's a hard one unless and until they bowl so much in the nets that the coach and captain feel, what, I think he's bowling so well that he should be given an opportunity on merit, not just because an international cricketer. That's the bridge that they need to cap there.
100%. You can't just turn up and say I'm playing Vijay Hazare, I'm Shreyas Iyer, I'm going to bowl. Yeah. But I would believe that you keep bowling, whether it's Shreyas Iyer, whether it's somebody else. Always try and find more ways to contribute to your side. That's where I'm coming from.
I just don't get what happened with this generation, because there was an earlier generation where every batter bowled, right? You would get 5 overs out of Sehwag, Raina, Yuvi, Saurabh, Sachin. I'm guessing these are the batters who the current generation has idolized, but somehow they only idolize their batting and not this other aspect. So, well, I hope
that's because of T20 cricket, GK. Because if you notice, when Sehwag started playing T20, he stopped bowling. Raina stopped bowling. Very little they bowl, because the game has become so power dominated that the 1 over before, you could come and roll your arm over, as they say, and just get away with the 5-run over. Now, the moment any point of time, any part-timer comes in T20 cricket, they want to hit sixes. So then that puts, the bowler on the back foot, the captain on the back foot. They don't want to, go in that direction where they're giving an over where you can just roll your arm over. You need to be good. You need to be solid. So then what happens is then they lose interest in bowling, because they don't get, obviously, bowling over a long period of time. They don't want to spend so much time bowling and practicing. On top of that, you get injuries. So it's a hard one. It's not an easy one.
But that's different, right? Because in T20s, you can't bowl that one lose over. But in ODI cricket, if you were to actually get a part-timer to bowl an over or two, you see, because it's 50 overs, the batters on the other side don't want to take that person on for that 1 over, because the game is so much longer. It's what we were talking about at the end of game 1, which is the 2 formats have become so different now that each of these little things, the ideology is just kind of north and south. Anyway, let's just talk about the third game, because when the third game happens, we'll have a lot of time to talk about these things, all these other things. I'll make a list. We'll talk about them, because there won't be much else to talk about. But right now, we can talk about any changes you'd like to see. We've spoken about them, but just in terms of formality, if you were to bring up the list again and see, who would you like to see? Who would you like to see in the center? I would like to see at least 3-4 changes. Come on.
3-4 changes means generally you think Pista 3-4 changes, or you want to say which 3-4 changes?
Yeah, poor passengers have gone all the way there. Come on, let them get one game. Yeah, come on. I mean, listen, the captain has said that they are using this time to experiment and to try a few things. If they've said it themselves, or the management is saying it themselves, I imagine they'd make a couple of changes, definitely, now that the series is gone. Perhaps even more, but what do you see?
One change, Prasidh or Deepak Chahar or Siraj. I don't know what Siraj fitness is for Bhuvi. I don't know how Bumrah is pulling up. He's played a lot of cricket. If they believe, look, the series is done, then and they want to rest Bumrah, that's a call we can't take from this distance. Then maybe that's the other one. What do you do with Shreyas? He's had 2 chances. Surya sitting there. DK, put your captain's hat on.
I'd play Shreyas Iyer, definitely.
Shreyas, right?
Because I think he needs to be given a few opportunities. I mean, you always need to be given the opportunity to fail. 2 opportunities is just not good enough. I think he's a talented player. He's shown what he's capable of. Given an opportunity to bat. He's batting at number 5 as well, not even 4. And it's a tough spot.
5.
Okay, so you're seeing it more in bowling than in batting, right? You're seeing the changes in bowling. And with South Africa, no, with South Africa, depends, of course, on the injury. Of this time, there was one change, forced change with the injury. Marco Jansen was made to sit out. But do you see that change?
Yeah. Listen, Marco Jansen just 20. He's played 3 test matches. So I think that was the reason they just thought, let's rest him a little bit and play Magala. They might leave out Magala, play Wayne Parnell, maybe. That also boosts the batting. That gives you another left-hander. They might play Wayne Parnell in there.
Okay. DK, do you see that? Do you see him? Do you see maybe...
Yeah, I do see one change in the bowling. I think Ngidi could be rested as well. He's had a long summer for them. So, obviously one of the fast bowlers can chip in there. So I do see a change for them as well. They'll also look to, keep their options open in whatever way possible. But their batting looks sorted. They look in pretty good shape. So I don't think they wouldn't mind winning a series 3-0. I don't know how often they've done it, but they wouldn't mind doing that as well.
Okay, well, before we go, I know we've already given the joy factor question and answer in the mid show, but just for those of you who still expect it at the end of the show, let's give you the question and the answer once again, just so that you don't think I have forgotten to do bureaucracy and forgotten to do the paperwork. Okay, paperwork number one. Ask any government authority. Number one in paperwork. Okay. That's because my dad does most of it. What was unique about New South Wales batsman Ryan Hackney's dismissal in a game against the England Lions in March 2020? It was Dinesh Karthik who gave us the correct answer, but it was done off air, so therefore it is inadmissible. But the answer is he was caught by Ollie Robinson off the bowling of Ollie Robinson. Both keeper and bowler share the same name. Well, there you go. Should we just tell them who the winner was again? Might as well. Pura karo na paperwork. Parth. I remember his first name. Parth Narodia. There you go. Parth Narodia was the person who got the first correct answer. Congratulations to you.
Have you had examples in Indian cricket? Two people with the same name playing the same game? I mean, I can understand we had a very good
Oja, Iyer, but not first and second name.
Yeah, caught Oja, bowl Oja was definitely possible. Caught Karthik, bowl Karthik. The one has a H and one doesn't. It's that way you could, but same name, whatever. All you guys, trivia fellows, find it out for us. Thanks. We're lazy.
I think Australia had a Steve Smith earlier as well, right? In the 80s.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the Steve Smith used to bowl 10 overs up at the top in a 50-over game. What Smith was he? There's Simon.
There was Simon Davis. You talking about Simon Davis?
He used to bowl 10 overs at the top. There was Simon Davis.
Simon Davis. But there was
they had a Steve Smith. They had a Steve Smith.
I remember he played white ball cricket in the early 80s. Bit of the World
He's a batter. He's a batter.
Batter, yeah.
Yeah, that was Simon Davis I was confused with. That was,
Yeah, so that, I remember them being two Steve Smiths. I'm sure there'll be lots in English cricket, but I don't think any in... not that I can remember. Well, that's good. That's a good trivia question. We'll come back with the answer to that on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. How's that for coming up next time on Cricbuzz Live? Well, that's all we have time for right now. Big thank you to Harsha Bhogle and Dinesh Karthik. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. It's been a disappointing day for Indian cricket fans, but as usual, the two of you brought immense joy and cheer to all us fans. I speak on behalf of all of them as their elected spokesperson. So thank you so much. Good night to the two of you. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching Cricbuzz Live. A big thank you to all our crew as well, sitting in the studio, allowing us to sit in the comfort of our homes and doing this. All of you, mask up, stay safe. See you soon.